So, hi everyone, this is Mark from Pocket Video School, and today I am absolutely honoured to have somebody who I would actually call a friend, as well as somebody that I really look up to, and that is a lady by the name of Mel Bridger, who I managed to meet in person last year. I think it was April time at Social Day in Birmingham, and we had a brief chat. And she's in a Facebook group that I'm part of as well. And she has blown me away with what she's actually doing in her business now. And obviously, the focus for us today is talking about video and what Mel's actually doing in video. So I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell you a little bit more about what she actually does. So, hi, Mel, and thanks for joining us today.
No problem. Hi, Mark. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So, do you just want to give us a little bit of history and background to you and kind of the business and businesses that you're actually running, and then we'll dive into kind of the video stuff that we're going to talk about as well.
Yep, no problem. So I was a professional dancer at the age of 22, which is a little bit late in the industry, but that got me into the fitness industry, which is what I do now. I teach group fitness and I'm a program creator as well. And I'm also a personal trainer, so I have a lot of strings to my bow in the fitness industry. I launched a program called Beats Fitness last August, and it's completely blown up. And I'm really enjoying what I'm doing with it at the moment. I've got lots of previous experience with brands. In addition to all of that, I'm also a health and fitness blogger, and I've got 2 kids that you can probably hear right now.
Yeah, just managed to hear them a little bit there, but that's fine. Don't worry about that. So, yeah, that's fantastic. Thanks for giving us the rundown, Mel. And as I said before, my focus is to talk about video, and I know that you've embraced video, and you've embraced it very strategically and very successfully. So, the first thing I kind of want to know is, why did you actually start using video for your business?
Oh, wow. Okay, so I was using video years ago, but I was always used to being on the other side of the camera. I used to run a magazine with my husband, an online magazine called Salsa Central, because my previous experience as a dancer, it was salsa that I used to do. So I traveled all around the world and I watched my husband get into editing and I really enjoyed it. But as I teach group fitness, I have always had this way of putting people at ease and making people laugh. So I thought I would have a go at being on the other side of the camera for a change, because I used to interview musicians and dancers. But that didn't come in until probably 3 or 4 years ago, when I used to do pre-recorded videos. I used to do something called Sunday Ramblings. I would film it and upload it every Sunday evening, and I made a bit of a name for myself. All I would literally do is tell people what I'd done that week, and then it would end up becoming a bit of a rant about fitness predominantly, and just being a parent, and lots of people really enjoyed it. And I did that for about 18 months. And then I tried doing it via Facebook Lives, and it didn't really work as well for me doing it as a live. So I started to do something called the school run. So I would drop my daughter off at school, and then I would sit in the car with my son, and we would just chat for about 10 minutes, and you could see the relationship between me and my son as he was getting older. And that's where it really started with me. I then decided that lives were actually better for me because I could be more authentic and I didn't have to worry about all of the post-editing, which took way longer than the filming.
Yeah, that's the thing. That when people first get into video, the recording is usually quite, relatively easy for them. I say easy, and I use that in inverted commas, but it's the post-production side. It's the actual putting these things together and polishing them up and making them look good that people underestimate the amount of time that it takes to do that. So were you using your husband's editing skills to kind of do the post-production, or did you decide to try and have a go at that yourself?
I did it myself. My husband is very good at reverse psychology. Doesn't work on the kids, but it does work on me. So if he knows that I can do something, or he thinks I'm perfectly capable of doing something, and I ask him for help, he'll tell me no. So I became frustrated. I mean, when I met him, I knew nothing about computers. I had a Nokia. And, you know, he turned me into a bit of an Apple fiend then. I mean, I'm more of an Apple geek than him now. He bought me this for Christmas a couple of years ago, Mac format subscription. And I get excited every time it comes through the door. Years and years ago, I started with Windows Movie Maker. And then when I started to do Sunday Ramblings, I taught myself how to use iMovie. And it was just a case of being persistent. And yes, I would get frustrated, but then a light bulb kind of just clicks. It's kind of like you have to keep going at it. And then eventually the time it takes you to edit gets shorter and shorter. And then you realise, God, that used to take me an hour to do that. And now I can do it in 15 minutes.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. You do. You hone your skills and you learn shortcuts and techniques, and your whole workflow changes, doesn't it? So when you kind of first got started, if you look back at the recording side and you look back separately to the editing side, what was the kind of biggest hurdle for you that you had to actually overcome for it to become part of your business and a fluid process in your business?
It was a tech. It was never about being in front of the camera. I used to be a performer when I was a dancer. So I would be up on stage in front of hundreds of people. And I also used to do master of ceremonies. So I used to get up on stage and talk to thousands of people at these dance events, warming them up before the performers came on stage. So I've always been really good at just opening my mouth and entertaining people. So for me, it was the tech side. It was making sure that everything looked right. And it took me such a long time to figure out lighting. I would get extremely frustrated and not understand why I'd be filming and then the light would change, or it just was dull, and I'd get really, really frustrated. And then what did I do? I follow a guy on YouTube called Sean Cannell, thinkmedia.com, and he's fantastic. The tutorials that he does are great, and my husband always says go and watch tutorials when you're stuck. So he's somebody that I watch regularly. And also Amy Schmitter, well, Amy Landino now, and I read her book, but also I follow what she does on YouTube and social media, and so the two of them combined were a really big influence on me. But yeah, it was all about the tech. It was never opening my mouth and talking to the camera.
And what kind of camera equipment were you using when you first kind of delved into all of this tech stuff?
Oh, man. When I started filming Sunday Ramblings, I used my MacBook. So what you're talking to me on now, and the lighting was just so poor. I'm thinking about the videos that I did first. But you know what? The audio was fine and the content was fine. So still, people were still watching what I was doing. And if I hadn't done an upload, they'd go mad and I'd be getting private messages going, "Where's Ramblings?" So yeah, I started out filming on my MacBook, and then I'm trying to think what I did. When I did some other stuff, when I was trying to hit YouTube but didn't really have an idea what I was going to talk about, I've got an old JVC camera. I think it's Enviro. It's in the drawer over there somewhere. And it's got a flip screen. So I started to use that, and it was a bit better. But again, I didn't quite have the lighting down pat. And now I film on my iPhone 7. I do everything on my iPhone 7.
Yeah. And do you feel that the quality is good enough with your smartphone to be producing the kind of stuff that you do? Because obviously predominantly it's all social media and online, website stuff that you're doing, and you're perfectly happy with what you can achieve with that?
With a smartphone, especially with the iPhone 7, I mean, I upgraded and I wanted that phone from when it came out, when I saw the keynote. And the camera is amazing. But again, it's how you combine the lighting. I was teaching my children how to use their iPads yesterday, and they've both got iPad 1s, or like the very first iPad mini that came out. And because I set up a ring light and I had the iPad in front of the window, the quality of the footage was actually really clean. So if you've got really good lighting, you can film off pretty much any iPhone, I believe, and get pretty good quality footage. And I always say to people, you don't need to be Steven Spielberg. As long as your audio is clear and your lighting is okay, and you've got a topic that's going to interest people, they're going to watch it.
No, you're 100% right. That for me, coming from a video background, I started doing video 34 years ago originally. And, there just wasn't the delivery platforms available then. It was either broadcast TV or it was a cassette that, cost a fortune to actually publish. And it was like something along the lines of, for broadcast TV, it was about £20,000 per minute of material.
Wow.
So when you look at the associated costs nowadays, it is almost free because you've usually got the kit that you use in your everyday life that's capable of producing this kind of stuff. For me, the biggest issue with smartphones is the sensor size, which means that in low lights, they're not quite as good. So, you saying about making sure that you've got good quality lighting is imperative. So, if you can film outdoors or you can film with a window facing you, then it can make such a massive difference. But material now that you can produce on your smartphone is pretty much, I would say, almost at broadcast level. Our expectations have changed, and that is pretty much due to YouTube, which is good and bad in some respects, because you see some absolutely horror stuff on there, really, really bad stuff.
Yeah.
But as a marketer, just tell me about the difference that using videos had on your business. What achievements have you managed to actually have success with since you embraced video for your actual business using your smartphone as opposed to the big sort of camera that you had in the past?
Well, I can film from anywhere, so you have flexibility. I don't even need Wi-Fi because I've got 4G, so I can upload almost instantly. The amount of apps that you have out there now to edit video, it's just incredible. I mean, if I'm editing on my MacBook, I use iMovie, but if I'm editing on my phone, I use something called Videorama, and it's incredible because you can change the sizing of your videos depending on what platform you want to do it on. So I always film in landscape unless I'm doing something for a story, so either Facebook stories or Instagram stories. And then if you want to resize your video, again, there are other apps out there that enable you to do that. But I can come up with a video in a short space of time. I can actually just hold my phone, talk about a topic there and then, bang it into the app and have it uploaded probably 15 minutes maximum, depending on how much time I've got, as in if my kids aren't climbing all over me. And that's what I love about it. I really do love it. I'm embracing it so much that, as you know, I've already launched a new business that I'm working on in the background to teach people how to use mobile marketing.
This is the thing, it's that speed of implementation now and actually getting your material up there. So if you've got a good quality message, which is always the important bit, you can literally either broadcast it or have it edited and up and online so quick. Whereas in the past, it would take forever to put something together, and you could potentially lose, the impact of the message. So it's brilliant to kind of have these tools at our disposal now. But can you correlate success in business directly to you having embraced video? Are there any aspects of your business that you think, if I hadn't have used video, that opportunity may never have arisen, or that success that I had in a particular project would never have come off?
Definitely. I think that it allows me to have authenticity. It gives me a real voice. I mean, I'm quite an honest person anyway. I know we've only known each other for just under a year, but you've seen a lot of the content that I produce. And one of the things that makes me so successful is that my message is going to be authentic, and you may or may not agree with it, but I'll always be completely honest about it. And recently, I've been using LinkedIn, video on LinkedIn quite a lot. I've set myself a challenge. So this is me trying to recall everything. I set myself a challenge on LinkedIn that I would upload a video every single week. So I upload on a Friday. And that was my weekly challenge to myself. And I have been speaking to different influencers on that platform and have been invited into a private group as a result, where I can learn more with those influencers. But also I've got a potential writing gig as a result of being on there. And more people are seeing my videos. And I've also been booked for a speaking gig in London in September. because they saw the video that I was producing, not only for LinkedIn, but they've seen me producing videos for different platforms as well. So they can see what I would be like speaking. If I can speak like that in front of a camera, there's a very good chance I can speak like that in front of a group of people. And the possibilities are endless. I'm literally just scratching the surface at the moment. I'm having lots of ideas when it comes to videos. Plus, I find it easier. So much easier to do video. If I want to turn around content very, very quickly, I'll do video. I could be sitting there for an hour trying to make a picture look pretty and put a really authentic quote across the top and put it up and get a few likes. But as soon as I put video up there, most platforms give you preferential treatment anyway if you're putting video up there. And yeah, I've definitely seen engagement on more than one platform rise, and I'm learning how to use the platforms properly, because a lot of people think that you can just produce one piece of content and just whack it everywhere, but you can't do that. I mean, you can repurpose your content, but you've got to tweak it for different platforms, even if it's just about tweaking the amount of time that you use. Like for Instagram, it's 60 seconds. You shouldn't really be producing anything longer than 4 to 5 minutes on a social media platform. If I go live, then I'll just rant for as long as I want to, and people generally tend to stick around for it. But if I'm doing pre-recorded content, my rule of thumb is never any longer than 4.5 to 5 minutes max. If you can't get your message across in that time period, then you either don't know what your message is and you're rambling, or you're not worrying about people switching off. You have a limited amount of time within which to get people engaged, and I'm learning every day, every single day.
And what's your take on polished video compared to, you've mentioned a few times about the authenticity of just going there and just, whether it's live or whether it is something just pre-recorded, but that might be short, but is not necessarily polished and doesn't have fancy graphics and transitions and things. Do you think there's still a place for both of those kind of types of video, or do you tend to favor one over the other, or are you using a mix of them?
I'm using a mix because, again, it depends on what content I'm trying to get across. So I've started filming tutorials where I can teach people how to use some of the applications that I use for creating content. And so for me, it's a tutorial, so it needs to be polished. It's not me in front of the camera. You can hear my voice, but it's usually a screen share where I'm actually teaching somebody how to use something. So I think that needs to be more polished. When it comes to just uploading a message, I don't think it matters whether or not you've got a fancy intro or a nice graphic. I think that if your message is up there, and all I generally tend to do now is put a fade on the beginning and the end, and maybe an intro image at the end. But even as recently as yesterday, I changed the way that I was doing video on LinkedIn, because I used to have my screen card, which is basically just a picture of me, and then like podcaster, blogger, whatever on there. And then I start talking. And Quentin Allams is somebody that I follow on LinkedIn. So I'm sure you know who he is, Mark, but if you don't, make sure you check him out. And he doesn't do that. And he just goes straight into his video. And then he has his end card or his transition right at the very end, and it's very short. And so I tried doing that yesterday. And I think that I'm going to carry on doing it like that, because people just want the message. They don't want to hang around and see what your fancy intro is before you start talking. But what you can do is you can talk, engage, whack your intro in, and then start talking again, which is something that Sean Cannell does. But the key point is to engage them within the first 6 seconds. Otherwise, they're just going to switch off. So I think there's room for both. Yeah,
you're right about that. You need... If somebody lands on your video, they need to know straight away, is this worth me watching? Is this the right content for me? And if you come in with an intro, you've already lost 3 or 4 seconds. They'll just go off to something else unless your intro catches their attention, which is unlikely. So yeah, introduce your topic straight away. Don't even talk about yourself necessarily. Just straight into, this is what in this video today, this is what you're going to learn, and then they'll know.
Definitely.
And quite often, do you use something called an open loop as well? Are you familiar with that term? So
No.
If you watch things like the news, they're really good at this. So they'll say, coming up later on, we're going to talk about such and such. So you say, right, so I need to hang around and watch the rest of this video because I want to learn about that. So you might say, I'm going to cover this, I'm going to cover that, and coming up later on, I'm going to cover such and such. Or another example would be if you're going to cover the top 5 tips on something, you say to them, and you won't believe what number 4 is. So they're hooked.
Okay, you know? So it encourages them to continue watching.
Yeah, so that is a piece of advice I was given a long time ago, and it works so well because that psychology it pulls people in, you know. So it's really, really good. So we've kind of got a real insight into how video's been, you know, a great catalyst and springboard for your business. But where do you see yourself in, say, 3 years' time with video? Do you have a map? Do you have a journey planned of where you want to take your kind of video stuff, or are you just letting it see where it develops?
I'm the queen of winging it, Mark. I am the queen of winging it. I have an idea and I run with it and I see whether or not it works. And if it works, great, I'll continue. If it doesn't work, then I'll just bin it off. But I'll always have a go. I think I'd love to have a show. I'd love to have some kind of show. I'm not too sure what yet. I would love to. I think I might revive Sunday Ramblings in some way, shape or form because it was really, really popular. But I'd love to have a show that people would, you know, be wanting to go and view, to be thinking, right, I need to make sure that I've got time to sit down and watch this show. It's 20 minutes where Mel comes on every single week and she talks about her experience with X and she's really funny and engaging. And for 20 minutes, I can just sit there with a cup of tea and just chill and watch her. I'm reading Crushing It at the moment, and, you know, Gary Vee talks about how more and more people are watching YouTube through their TVs, and in a few years' time envisages that YouTube will be watched more than mainstream TV. And I completely agree with that, because even here now, as a family, we don't watch mainstream TV. We generally tend to watch films through the Fire Stick, or the kids watch Netflix. So when people are saying to me, oh, such and such is on the TV, I'm like, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and I learn a lot from YouTube, you know, and my husband's telling me no. He'll help me if I'm really stuck. But, you know, YouTube has been a godsend for me because I'm 41 this year. I've got 2 kids. I teach group fitness. That's what people see when they, like, out in the world, so to speak, as in my area. That's what they see, or that's what they know me for. And then if they engage with me online, they realise that, oh my God, how much does this girl do? I mean, my cousin was asking for help moving the other day, and I said, look, I've got a free weekend, I've got a people carrier, I'll come over. And she turned around, she's like, I've sorted it, but I can't believe that you've offered to help me with the amount of stuff that you do. So even like my family, my extended family, are learning more about me on my social media platforms and are realising that my cousin does more than just teach group fitness. And it's great.
That's a really important thing that you talk about here, because I know, and you know, obviously I don't want to delve into this because it's not the forum to do that, but you've had some issues with, you know, things like self-esteem and, you know, confidence and things in the past. So how did you overcome that barrier for getting in front of a camera then? Because I'm exactly the same. I was always behind the camera, and it was a big step for me to get in front of the camera, and it was nerve-wracking. It still is nerve-wracking at times, but I always say to people, just do it. Is that the kind of advice that you would give people as well?
Absolutely. For me, when you have, and I'm happy to talk about it, when you have a mental illness, so it's anxiety and depression that I suffer from, you can be or seem outwardly like one of the world's most confident people, and you can just walk in and handle any situation. And I pretty much can. I have trigger points that you know, obviously bring on anxiety, but I've learned to control them over the years with the help of fitness and medication. So for me, I'm very good at putting on a front, because I kept this secret for such a long time from like some of the most important people in my life. Like I recently told my mother, and I know that you know all this, and a weight was lifted off my shoulders as a result of doing that. But I was always very good at faking it. And I don't know where the saying has come from. You might be able to tell me, but I always picked up fake it till you make it. So I would switch on the camera and then you breathe and then you start to talk. And when I'm editing my videos, I didn't even know that I do this. Like, I'll put the video on and I do this. Open my eyes and then I start to talk, and I do it in front of every single video. And it's like I'm subconsciously setting my mind ready to talk. I don't know if that makes sense. That makes sense.
It makes perfect sense, to be honest with you, because it is, I want to say it's kind of like acting, but it's putting a performance on, but that performance is still authentic. It's just you have to put yourself in a particular place that allows you to give this performance, because you still need to have that energy. You know, there's nothing worse than sticking the camera on and you're flat and you're monotone and it just doesn't come across very well at all. You have to amplify what you do, and that's just you put yourself in that state of mind. So the point I suppose I'm trying to get for the audience that's going to kind of see this, because a lot of people will be at that stage where they understand the power of video, they want to start to do video, but they've not maybe hit the tech barriers yet. They're still struggling with the confidence barriers to kind of get in front of the camera. That's a good technique that you've just covered there for bolstering yourself before you go live. Is there anything else that you've kind of done or you've seen anybody else do that you think is a really good opportunity to try to give yourself that boost before you actually record?
I would say just hit record, because you can always press delete. And that's what you need to remember, is that unless you're going live, obviously, you can always press delete. And I think that you just have to stick the camera up there and just press record and just keep doing it over and over and over until you feel more comfortable. But also, don't be scared to upload. You don't have to put it out there in the public domain. You can send the video to someone. I've had people send videos to me after watching me do videos and say, will you have a look at this? And I'm like, okay, yeah, fine. Just upload it. So you can always find yourself an accountability buddy in a way, someone who you know will watch your video unbiasedly. So it's not good to ask your mum, but watch your video unbiasedly and just say, you know what, just upload it. The world is not going to end, especially if you're not talking about anything controversial. I mean, I do within a certain degree. And then there's just some conversations that you shouldn't record. But practice until you can look at the camera and talk. Give yourself 60 seconds. So 60 seconds is the equivalent of an Instagram post. Okay, that's what you would need to film. Everybody can find something to talk about for 60 seconds. It can be absolutely anything, and just record it. And then when you feel like you haven't fumbled over your words too much, send it across to somebody, and then keep doing that until you feel confident enough to share it with a group of people. But it also helps if you stand in front of a mirror and you practice talking. And I did actually go to theatre school years ago. But if you stand in front of a mirror and just talk and be confident enough to look at yourself and talk, that also helps. Or at least those kind of things have helped me.
One of the things that I think is the best platform to kind of test these out is the likes of Instagram stories, because
definitely they're not around forever.
Yeah, they're only around for 24 hours, but it's 15-second bursts. If you can't record yourself for 15 seconds and say something coherent, then you kind of got a bit of a communication issue anyway. But it's such a great platform to hone your skill about being able to deliver that succinct piece of content, because you've only got 15 seconds to do it. You can't give all the fluff and the filler. So I would always say to people, use something like that, Facebook stories, Instagram stories, and just practice, get used to it. And then when you come to do the proper I am, you're just going to feel a lot more comfortable doing it. And, that's not going to haunt you because it's gone in 24 hours on those platforms. So yeah, it's a really good bit of advice. So you mentioned before about having started a new business based around video and especially mobile. And the Mobile Marketing Academy has been born recently. So
It has.
do you want to tell us a little bit more about, why you went down that route, how it came about, and kind of where you see it fitting into the marketplace?
So for me, it came about with the LinkedIn challenge. So I was using my phone, and part of the challenge was I could only film and edit on my phone. And so I had to find apps that suited me. So I spent a good couple of weeks just downloading and messing around with apps and getting the free trials and seeing what worked. But also I saw what other people were doing. And there's a lady that I follow called Tabitha Caro. She runs the Smartphone Marketing School, I think it's called. And she had a course, which is Mobile Story Studio. So I signed up to that, and I've learned quite a lot from the way that she does things. But I didn't want to do what she was doing because she focuses predominantly on teaching people how to use apps. Whereas the Mobile Marketing Academy does teach you how to use some applications, but the ones that I think you need to use when you're creating content, it's more important for me that people are creating content on their mobile, and you can do pretty much anything from there. I mean, I'm not saying that you will completely eliminate using the computer, because I'm a massive advocate of email marketing as well, but I've also got the MailChimp app on my phone so I can check my reports and things like that on the go. It's more about being flexible and being able to run your business from anywhere. For me, as a mum, sometimes my kids just like me to be in the room, even if they don't want to talk to me. And so that means I can't work from upstairs, but I can sit next to my kids and work on my phone, and I'm still around and I'm still there. Or I can take them to soft play, or, a very safe environment where it's okay for me to check my phone from time to time. Family time is very important to me, and spending time with my kids is really important. That's why I work from home. And that's why I try and spend so much time educating myself and learning different tools to be able to implement them into my businesses so I can stay at home and take care of my children. So that was a big motivator for me, my kids, and it always will be.
So were you starting to get people asking you, how to do what you were doing? Is that why it all kind of, this new path and this new business sprung up?
Yeah, it was crazy because I work in the fitness industry, and I get really frustrated. I'm not gonna rant, but I get really frustrated that you go out there and you're in the fitness industry, and these are people that are trying to run their own business, regardless of whether it's full-time or part-time. It does not matter. Business is business, and everybody deserves the same amount of respect. I'm just putting that out there. And, I'm at events, and I'll be doing Instagram or taking pictures and stuff, and just filtering them. And I've got these other brands that are at the same event as me going, what are you doing? Or, oh, it's so frustrating because this isn't happening. And I'm like, well, have you tried this? No, I don't even know what that is. Do you use this app? I have no idea what that is. Do you know what this is? And it's literally all of these people just have no clue, yet they've got the phone glued to their hands. And I'm like, you're posting on Facebook and they're not using video. I had this conversation with somebody the other day, and lo and behold, I've noticed the brand has started to use more video. But I started to educate my team. So as I said before, I also run Beats Fitness, which is a dance fitness program, and we have about 100 instructors. And for me, if my instructors do well, I'm going to do well. So I wanted to give them the tools so that they could go out there and market their business easily. A lot of these people are mums, the same age as me. They're not overly technical, but I can teach them how to use an app like Boomerang, where they can make funny little GIFs. I know that you know what Boomerang is, where they can create funny little GIFs, or they can use something like Videorama to put a slideshow together of their students with some music and upload it to Instagram and their Facebook pages. And they're coming back and they're showing me, they're screenshotting their insights. These are women that have never used tech before, and they are screenshotting their insights and going, look at my engagement, look. And I'm like, yes, that's what sets me apart, because I'm empowering these women to go out there and be different from everybody else. Because in the fitness industry, you can like sneeze and hit a personal trainer or a group fitness instructor, and it's very difficult to be heard above the noise. So what I say to them is, use your content differently, film, go live, and I'll do live training in the group to show them how to do it if they need a little bit more hand holding. And I love it. And I was like, I need to do this for more people. So I guess that was a big part of how MMA got started. I was like, right, I'm sharing this with my guys. They're benefiting from it. Why don't I share it with more people and see if they can benefit too?
We can talk about this forever because obviously, video is my passion, and I know how passionate you are about embracing the technology of video to have success in your business as well. So, if people want to find out more about you, Mel, and what it is that you're doing, where's the best place that we can send them?
Oh, wow. Okay, so on LinkedIn, I'm on there as Mel Bridger. I post probably 2 to 3 times a week video content, so you can find me on there. On Instagram, the Mobile Marketing Academy does have an account, but don't follow me on there. Follow me on my blog account, which is the Mummy Trainer UK on Instagram. I have a Facebook page as well, but I'm more active on LinkedIn and Instagram. So that's the best place to get me.
Excellent. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, Mel, as always. I'm so glad I managed to twist your arm. Not that I had to twist your arm very far to come and join you today.
No, well, I like to talk.
But it's been brilliant, and thank you very much for sharing the insights into your journey with video. Really appreciate you coming on, and I wish you every success in everything that you do, and especially with MMA. And we'll speak again soon.
Thanks, Mark.